brain flu, slick with ectoplasmic juice.
Ecstatic energy, a fire that fuels our memory.
What genealogy with spiritual topography?
Questions for your answers. We are data necromancers.
I have over 100 clients who have allegedly been abducted, and he's like the main the thread I'm following is that they are exhibiting real trauma. And he's like, this is really curious to me. And it was like so controversial that he was saying that.
Because he's aligned with science.
Yes. And he was like, shouldn't we be curious? Why can't we talk about this? It's known that our government has, released psyops and disinformation and counterintelligence upon us. So why would this be any different? Yeah. And so he studied them, and all the kids, it's like to get 60 kids to lie. But they had these skeptics. He's like, I started this rumor there was a shiny rock and everybody thought it was a UFO. And he's like, kids lie all the time. And I'm like, you're not married. You don't have kids. You don't know shit about them. Like, whatever. I like hearing the skeptic side of
Kids
stuff.
are liars. I hate them.
But these kids had severe sleep disorders after it happened. They were terrified to go to school. They were terrified to sleep.
So it was a scary encounter.
Well, because they didn't know, and then no adult was believing them, and then they remembered this Harvard professor coming in and being like, how did this make you feel? Like somebody who was coming to them as an empath.
You want me to not repress this?
And then there was also, since it was Zimbabwe, which is really fucked up that they come in and crush their whole culture, and this was a Christian school or whatever.
This is what you do instead now.
So of course it's, but this one African guy was like, I remember a white youth pastor telling me that anything that has to do with my Africanness and doesn't matter. And because he was questioning, well, if Jesus came down from the heavens, because this encounter really fucked his paradigm up.
Yeah.
Because he was going to a religious school. He was like, is Jesus an alien? And he was asking these questions, and he just got fucking demolished. And you're like, well, you say that he came down from the sky, and I witnessed this one thing, and but the separation, it's like, Jesus wasn't an alien. Yeah,
of course not, you idiot. It's like, wait, am I the idiot? Like, you're the one who think he's,
and he was just expressing how confused he was. He witnessed something, and now everybody's telling him it didn't happen. And the Harvard professor's like, can we be curious about this? Can we be like, wow, what is this phenomena that's happening? And
no, Jesus is not an alien, but this piece of bread is Jesus. And you will eat the bread because we are meant to eat Jesus.
So the first episode of Encounters comes from a guy who lives in rural Texas, and he's a homeschooler, and he's super religious. But the clips they're showing of him is talking about the book of Ezekiel,
there's also Enoch. Was it Ezekiel?
I think it was Ezekiel that they were talking about the chariots of fire that came down and bestowed peace on them. And he's like, sounds like aliens, doesn't it, kids? And you're like, yeah!
Sounds like fucking rocket ships,
Dude,
brother.
I need to give you my fucking Netflix log, and I just want a piece of your brain.
I can get off my Shatner train for a few minutes.
This juice is fine.
It tastes like water.
Yeah, this isn't anything.
It's really not. It's such a waste of this package that won't disappear for 2,000 years. But c'est la vie, baby.
That's how bones don't disappear either.
That's juice anyway. But doesn't this
rather get Kool-Aid than that? No wonder why nobody drank it.
It's not good.
It's not good. It's not very good.
But it is cold.
It's cold and it's liquid. I guess we'll fucking drink it.
But is this considered organic material? Isn't there a difference between polluting the environment with organic material versus inorganic material?
I don't know. I'm always like, it takes this tin can 70 years. I'm like, yeah, but bones are like 30,000 years. And then like all
But they're made of calcium, which is good for the environment. And this shit is destructive.
It's definitely not good for the environment.
Definitely not.
But our idea of permanence and impermanence always makes me laugh. I'm like,
that is true.
Nothing disappears. Even those gigantic landfills of terracotta olive oil wastelands in the outskirts.
The shape doesn't disappear, but it's literally made of earth.
Well, everything's literally made of earth.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. I know, I was like, somebody in my paradigm was like, they don't take ibuprofen. I was like, ibuprofen I think was a bark. Mm-hmm. I was like, don't start doing that stuff. You're gonna go down a rabbit hole that never ends. It's like it's all.
Yeah, I think there's too much marketing around the organic, natural lifestyle for it to be.
And it's sad because without culture, they absorb themselves to like a really extreme degree to where,
like, this is my mission. I will be clean. I will only eat whole foods.
This person won't buy baking. Is it soda or powder? Calcium carbonate.
Sodium carbonate?
Either way, I was like, that's mined in
Baking
Wyoming.
soda.
I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
But that's how.
Look at a periodic table,
that's
you
how
dolt.
Steeped in. There's no sense of self. I'm on a pedestal of all natural everything. And you're a demon for letting your kid eat a Skittle.
Palm oil.
Palm oil.
I mean, everything is so tediously complex.
Can somebody tell me why a bag of Halloween candy is $30? $30.
Because your dollars are meaningless.
It is fiat. It is 30.
How many pieces is that? 99 pieces?
I don't. This is a big bag, but I'm never spending $30 on palm oil substitutes that taste like nothing. I had that Snickers bite last night. I was like, this doesn't taste like anything anymore.
Yeah, it's just a little hit of chocolate dopamine or serotonin or whatever you get from sugar.
It? I get upset and I get a spike of fucking adrenaline and rage, and then I get hemorrhoids, and then I'm mad.
And her butt hurts. And
then my butt hurts.
Angry.
Something didn't feel right.
Did you hit record on it?
I did. It's been recording.
What a treat.
What a treat. Welcome to episode 58, where we're already, I think, 6 topics.
I mean, the whole, like, purity of body and sort of as a practice, or like trying to cultivate like a pure, healthy life. I think everybody has different ideas about what can constitute that purity. Because some people will fast in an effort to clean themselves.
Even though your kidneys and liver are already doing that for you.
I think a lot of the time it's sort of like a religious kind of focus your energy. People need these types of rituals in order to cope with day-to-day existence. It's like, okay, if your ritual is going to be only buying organic, so be it. Like, the ideas that sort of back up your decision to do that are just as amorphous as someone who believes deeply in the truth of evangelical Christianity.
Yeah, and I am talking about a specific, very, very niche strain of person that it consumes their entire being, and they don't know what they're talking about, but they think that they do.
Yeah.
So they do all the expensive stuff, and then they're broke, and then you peek behind the curtain, you're like, you're not functional at all.
Yeah.
And you're putting way too much energy and stressing out about what yogurt might,
It's so frustrating because it's like, what if you put that energy into being self-aware and you could actually make a change that is palpable as opposed to just sort of superficially focusing on one thing until you're tired of doing it or something.
Peripheral warning, because I did not read it, and I hate peripheral inheritance of opinions, but it was I caught it, and it wasn't something I was going after, so I'll bring it up.
And we're honest kids.
We're honest kids. I can't get over how fucking much this sucks. I don't know why Ruby's not drinking them. They don't taste good.
They're not good. Mostly water, I guess.
Brilliant marketing. Anyways, they were feeding rabbits. It was like a research project. They were feeding rabbits a super high cholesterol diet, to see how it affects them. And there was this one group of rabbits that they were like, wait a second, hold on, their cholesterol is low. Why? They're all being fed the same thing or whatever. And so they dug into the researchers performing, or the ones who were supposed to feed them. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh yeah, I really like these ones.
Oh.
So they were petting them and cuddling them as they were eating, and it was developing a different response to the food.
That is so cool.
So we all need to be pet by a big-breasted, beautiful woman.
I've always thought this. I've always thought this.
Yeah, you projecting your energy into what you're eating is going to alter.
Yeah, it's like safe, secure, comfort zone. You're eating this and your body isn't threatened by it somehow.
Versus like if you're hiding and you're like, that's gonna kill you.
Yeah. Don't eat under the covers where no one can see. If you need an eating buddy, I could help.
I envisioned just the master in Spirited Away, like the woman that owns Yubaba, just like a really overly big lady. It's just like petting
She
your
has
head
a twin
while you're
sister
eating
named
high
Zaniba.
cholesterol.
Zaniba's kind of the nice one.
Okay.
But I like how in some Japanese tales you kind of get a little bit more than just good and evil.
Yes.
Because like Yubaba had some good qualities, Zaniba had some bad qualities, so it was sort of more realistic as opposed to like the Disney fairy tale bullshit that we grew up on.
I try to watch it with Ruby and I can't. I cannot watch
What
this.
have you tried? Like Sleeping Beauty? That's really a bad one. Or Snow White is terrible.
Did you guys know that the story Thumbelina is all about her just trying to get wedded and fucked by a bunch of woodland creatures?
I don't know the story
I
of
can
Thumbelina.
smell the celibacy on the author. I'm like, God,
The involuntary celibacy.
old school incel writing fairy tales that became wildly famous. But they were like, I read you one. It was like, Thumbelina, you need to start making sheets for your wedding night. And I flipped back to the beginning and I was like, it's a child. This is a child.
Yeah, I mean, I always go back to like the timeline on which we find ourselves and how
Britney Spears
only in
trajectory.
the last 50 or 70 years have we really started to do any kind of work on women's equality in civilization.
You need to lay down before I blow my brains out.
Clicky clack,
Lay, God, longest toenail dog I've ever owned.
Lay down, honey.
Yeah, I'm also like sick of these fairy tales. I'm like, okay, come on, new stories. Let's get them going. Something else.
Check out other cultures' stuff.
Yeah, ours
Because
is
like
just
Norway has weird
frozen.
shit. Like all the northern lands have weird shit. It'd be cool to do like a comparative study between our culture's fantasy and other cultures' fantasy.
I think it was a Rolling Stones cover of Britney Spears where she's
A slave for you.
she was a slave
I'm
for me.
Slave for you.
It's so fucked.
It's so fucked.
But she's in a teenager room, right? She's got all the people, the idols posted on the wall, and she's wearing a school uniform, but it's busted open. And I'm like, this is sick.
Oh, that's from Hit Me Baby One More Time.
This is sick. Hit me. It's so, but it was number one for 89 years.
That's
it
why
was
she's
just
so
like,
screwy now.
I know.
She wasn't allowed to be a child. She was a
Then
Disney. Wasn't she on the Disney Channel?
Yeah, and that she
Bring
had
it back
her
to the evil of Disney. The evil perpetuated by Disney.
Walt Disney was a Hitler supporter.
Dude, I saw one of those old cars. I don't know what they're called, but you know what I mean? Like the Hitlermobile. It's like a long black car. I saw one riding around that had like flags off the side of it.
Where did you see this?
On Lamar.
Shut the fuck
like
up.
Lamar and 45th. And I was like, I always talk to myself when I'm driving, like make jokes. I was like, oh, fucking zombie Hitler's trying to cut me off.
What kind of flags were on it?
UT flags. but it was like a sleek black
Limo.
kind of like those big wheel well things where the car, it's not a Rolls Royce, but it's similar. I don't know.
It's a Nissan Altima.
It's my Altima. Anger, frustration,
Masturbation.
I have been eating a lot of bread recently, which I'm really enjoying. I don't usually buy bread because I always do this thing where I eat it all as soon as I buy it.
I'm starting to pick this up because you're like, I can't keep that in the house. I can't buy this. And I was like, oh, what's on that list?
A lot.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Really?
for sure.
Why?
Oh, because I'm like all tangled up with the way my dad lived and died. And Aaron has tried to talk me down from it because he's such an indulgent eater and like he revels in the junk foodiness of his treats, which I support and appreciate and love. But I am not as easy to persuade that that's a good thing to do because because of the way in which my dad died. Like, he never took care of himself. He always ate junk food. All of his systems started to deteriorate and break down. So every time I think about like junk food or whatever, I always just think about death.
That is extreme.
Yeah, it is. It surely is.
That's a lot.
But I don't think it's too serious because I'm not.
No, you
I indulge quite often. So it's sort of like a tiny little gremlin. Nothing too serious.
I just noticed, like, I had Doritos. You're like, I can't keep those in my house. I was like, wait,
Dude,
why?
I think about Doritos so much.
I was like, why? I would die without them.
I seem to have this quality where I'll eat what's around, which is how I got into rubbish cooking. And if I keep like ice cream and donuts, that's what I'm gonna eat, and that's not what I want to eat. It's not what I want to be made of. I want to be made of good stuff.
But if you had, let's say you had a quart of ice cream in your freezer, could you make that last for 2 weeks?
I can. Yeah. I'm not super into sweets. I don't know why I said ice cream and donuts, because I'm really into salty stuff.
Me too. Yeah, the pregnancy is the first. Erica saw me eating candy and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, oh, "Why?" And she's like, "You don't ever
You're like
eat
putting
candy."
tahini on it and shit.
I was like, "This baby is made of candy."
I need to air out. I'm hot with
Well,
this dog.
Andrew got a hot fucking dog. Just punt him to the moon.
Can you go lay on the floor?
I can go pace around.
He's fine. So, I would love to ask you about a concept which I have just learned about.
Hit me.
And so this concept...
One more time.
Oh, God. Sometimes I run. Wrong song. It's called The Dark Night of the Soul. And I learned about it. I've been watching this lady. She has YouTube videos, and she talks about attachment theory and different concepts, sort of through like a psychological lens, like how the environment you grew up in shapes the way you relate to other people as an adult. Attachment theory. So this came up in a video where she was talking about the shadow self and how the things in your shadow self you have to like attend to, or else they come out in other more nefarious ways.
Let's talk about the shadow self, because I just had to do this too, and Teresa popped on and it reminded me of something I want to bring out, so I wrote it down. Shadow self being your subconscious.
Yes.
It's
or
not
your unconscious, I think.
It doesn't mean dark, and it doesn't mean negative or bad, which I always thought
Right.
it did. It just means what isn't expressing itself.
Right. It sort of finds ways to be expressed through your relationships and things, I think. Or like through your other experiences. Like, I think one example that she provided was like someone who is anxiously attached, and so they would never claim to feel. I'm screwing it up. Did I write any of it down?
Real quick, what do you like to eat tahini on? Melon, personally.
Mango. Definitely mango.
Fruit. I had it on. I went next door and they had a big fun Mexican birthday party and there was tahini on the fruit salad.
It was so good on pineapple too.
And there was fucking pork cracklings and the popcorn. I was like, why don't I do this? So simple, so tasty.
So delicious. Oh, I wrote this down too. I didn't know about this. Caregivers are responsible for managing our relationships with existence and death on an emotional level when we are young children.
Yeah.
Well, and I was thinking about, the questions that Ruby comes up with and how frank and honest you want to be with it, but how you sort of have to mitigate that with her conception of reality as it is. Because, if you tell her I am going to die one day, she won't really understand the concept of one day. She'll think it's she tomorrow.
Knows tomorrow and tonight, tomorrow and yesterday. God damn, I gotta fix this. Keep talking.
Fuck a duck, screw a pigeon. So the shadow self, in the shadow self, you have these expressions of what you sometimes would consider to be morally reprehensible, but it's not something that is black and white like that, because everybody feels all the feelings all the time, but our conscious projection of our feelings is only what we'll allow. So if someone refuses to play part in the drama of being emotional and making a big deal out of things, then they'll look upon someone else who is really emotionally expressive as being weak or dramatic or over the top or just inappropriate kind of morally. But the person who is casting that sort of judgment has those same feelings and expressions, but they're not revealing them. They might not even be aware of them because they're tucked so deep inside their shadow, because they have learned that what they consider to be morally astute or correct is just some random combination that was deemed acceptable when they were growing up. So of course, if your parent is don't cry, or don't whine,
stop it,
don't behave like this, that's childish, that's, you need to grow up and act like a man or whatever, you'll still have those feelings even though you repress them and you push them into your shadow. So the dark night of the soul is this experience. It started off in sort of a spiritual realm. It was a concept that was written about first by a Christian mystic, a Spanish Christian mystic in the 17th century named Saint John of the Cross. I don't know if he's a saint. John of the Cross. And he wrote a poem, and it's a really beautiful poem called The Dark Night of the Soul. And then he wrote a treatise that was sort of explaining the content of the poem. I haven't read the treatise, but I read the poem. But so this concept of the dark night of the soul starts off in this mystical, spiritual sort of realm, but it's been adopted into psychology as a term that describes this transformation, hopefully. But it's basically you disconnect from all of the concepts that you built your reality conception with. So something
which is
terrible,
earth-shattering.
Yes, something terrible happens that calls into question everything that you thought you knew about reality, or how it functions, or what you can expect, or anything that you have determined about the world, and it sort of shatters it. So you have to experience this dark night of the soul in order to come to
Metamorphose, transform.
Yeah, you have to like seek out the true expression of reality instead of all of the constructions that you've been relying on for the rest of, or the beginning of your life. So if I could read a little bit by Eckhart Tolle. Do you ever look at him? Cool. This is my first time. So if for those of us who don't know, Eckhart Tolle, the most popular spiritual author in the United States, this is from his website. His teachings focus on the significance and power of presence with a capital P, the awakened state of consciousness, which transcends ego and discursive thinking. When I read that, I thought, well, this is just a watered down version of Buddhism, isn't it? He's just repeating what the Buddha said. But anyway, Eckhart Tolle describes the dark night of the soul as a collapse of a perceived meaning in life, an eruption into your life of a deep sense of meaninglessness. Really, what collapses is your whole conceptual framework of your life, but there is a possibility that you emerge transformed. They awaken unto something deeper, which is no longer based on concepts in your mind, a deeper sense of purpose or connectedness with a greater life that is not dependent on explanations or anything conceptual any longer. It's kind of a rebirth. The dark night of the soul is a kind of death that you die. What dies is the egoic sense of self. Of course, death is always painful, but nothing real has actually died, only an illusory identity. So I've been chewing on that for a little bit and trying to imagine like what it is that needs to die in my conception of reality.
So you're not in it, but you've come across it saying,
I don't like
maybe,
for everything to seem meaningless, I'm not there.
Teresa, if chime in, please. I feel like the dark night of the soul is something that comes over you after tragedy or something.
Definitely.
And I don't know. You can do shadow work though, because it was so funny, Teresa. I thought this would be a fun exercise for you, and I'm glad that you're bringing this up. But the exercise during the last Metaphysical You meeting was to break off into separate Zoom meeting rooms, and I had to channel a message for the person, my partner. And the message was, or I had to channel, what does this person need to progress? And I was sweating because I'm like, okay, I'm on the spot. You don't get to do the meditation and the visualizations and the connecting. That's how Sarah is, man. She just fucking tosses you into that shit.
In the deep end.
She fucking thinks that shit's so funny, and she's like, oh. But it was funny. The pressure was key.
Oh.
So I started.
Did it help?
Yeah. Because I'm like, but you're getting like performance anxiety.
Bocce ball. You're meant to play bocce ball.
And, and my person was like, I don't know. Get the color yellow. I'm not good at this. I'm not good. I don't know. So I gave her this big message, and I read it to her, and she's like, wow, okay, wow, yeah. Cool. She's like, how'd you do that? But, then quickly, time's up, go back into the space. And Sarah was like, the message you just channeled is what you needed to hear.
Yo!
She's like, this is shadow work.
Nice.
The messages you get, the projections that you receive are what you need to hear. And it was so fucking funny because mine was super positive.
Oh, that's
and I
good.
never channel positive stuff. It's always like serious or urgent, or I don't know, anything that's not just like, look, okay, this is what needs to happen. You're blah, blah, blah. This is great, blah, blah, blah. And I was laughing because I was like, that shit would be my shadow work, because I so often am steeped in meditation because of all the suffering I constantly have to witness, and how hard it is to be like, here are the tools used, and then everybody goes, huh? And you're like, that's my work. So just be like, I have that vision to see that for somebody, but I can't tell them.
Do it.
I can't make them do it, and that has been my whole work. So I thought that was really funny. And then it got me thinking about shadow work. And then I was listening to this bomb-ass Ram Dass lecture, the most recent one. And I was listening to it on Monarch Road, which was sick. I had no idea because the podcast was about the mother. And Ram Dass is like, I'm not talking about your fucking mom. Because in India, the mother is what you would consider, I guess, Gaia, or like the heartbeat in all things, the reason there's air, the reason there's a sky. It's vengeful, it's brutal, it's violent, it's tender, it's loving. It's like got so many different faces. And I was like, man, what an idol to have, right? Is like to have Durga, which is like the goddess of creativity, and then pure consciousness, and then Kali. Kali's got all of her lovers' head around her neck, and she drinks their blood, and she's got multiple swords and ways to kill them. And then the depiction of her is her stepping on the lover that she just had, and after murdering him. You're like, yeah, mom. And talks about like if you can't consume it, if you can't move through what it is you're going through, give it to mom. Mom will eat it.
Whoa!
And I was like, oh yeah, baby. And he was talking about how the universe is the mother looking at its own reflection. So you have to consume the form to become formless. And that shit rocked my world so hard because so often you see, especially in Buddhism, and this is from Tantric Buddhism, which I'll have to look up the definition to not embarrassingly regurgitate it to you guys, but consume the form until you're formless. We see monks rejecting. Shave your head, get rid of everything. Here's your cup, here's your rice, here's your work.
Fasting, monasticism.
But the way I took this was you have to steep in your reality and where you are to the point of sinking down below into the other side, which is what I've always done. I'm not going to reject. I live in America. What do you want me to fucking do? And you do see a lot of people who give up and go to India or join, and that's why women are usually excluded because they have kids and they can't go, or this is not a lot of space for them. And so, yeah.
I'm still
where you
chewing on the consume form until you're formless. It's sort of like that. It's sort of like trying to cognitively strive to not think,
That's the whole point, and that's what I always strive to do. Quiet your mind and open your heart.
Yeah, it's like, how do I use my conscious faculties of like discursive thought and reason to go away from all of that?
You need to listen to this because he talks about it, because he's like, you don't need to be far spaced out in order to get to God. He's like, you still got to get in the car and drive to the place and make the appointments and stuff. And he was just talking about that flipping, like being steeped in it and detaching from your sense faculties and your clinginess to your senses and your clinginess to who you think you are.
Your expectations and your memories and everything that you've created in relation to everything that you experience. It's like you have, I don't know, like you could have Megan colored glasses, you could have Whitney colored glasses, you could have Magic Toaster colored glasses, and they're all different colors.
Dude, let's all wear Magic Toaster colored glasses. I just want to peek into the eyes of a Discord member.
I would love to just experience a day in the life of, someone who is doing something different than what I'm doing,
What was that sound?
Maybe your husband's in there. He went through it around.
He's behind me.
He's right behind you. So I've been reading this Zen Buddhism book, and it was just talking about the concept of mu. So like in Zen Buddhism, they use what are called koans to sort of like snap people into realization. And there's a koan that is basically like, does a dog have Buddha nature? And then the response is moo, which means there's like 15 pages explaining what moo means in this book.
Like Jow, like it's got
it means
Liz.
like no, but in that refutation there's like so much meaning in the refutation. It's like everything has Buddha nature, everything is Buddha, but when you ask if a dog has Buddha nature, it's a dog because of its karmic, it's just like so much that goes along with it, that the contemplation of that is supposed to like make you realize how constructed everything that we think and experience is, and how we need to just like break it all down. It's all nothing.
That's why I have no attachments to what I think or what I believe. And that's why I never care to preach about it, because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
I think that it...
Is a million degrees in here? Yes.
As much as everything is in a constant state of flux, I feel the same way about my thought processes and the things I'm thinking about. And it's usually in tension with this sort of solid sense of self I'm trying to establish. Like, okay, who am I if everything's constantly changing? What is the part of me that I can recognize if I'm lost and looking, But it's like, I don't think that those types of questions get me any closer to the truth necessarily. Well,
I was just thinking about this last night. You and I have been on the same waveform, I think, for the last 72 hours.
Yesterday we both had a stand-up comedy ping, and we were separate.
And we both were texting each other, being like, we should do an open mic.
Cap City Comedy Club. Here we go, baby. We give you Penn and Teller.
That would be sick. I'll be the misanthropic, anarchist, dark, and then you'll be the opposite.
I'll be the opposite.
When you're really, really smart, you cultivate a lot of awareness. I think it's hard because, especially in the spiritual realm, there's a lot of people who are like, I'm supposed to get rid of myself, but I already don't know who I am.
Yeah, that's something that I've struggled with.
But you
want me to establish myself so I can bust it up and break it down?
And that's where this consume the form until you are formless really fucking bonked me, because why? Okay, let's formulate some words. I was like, there's somebody in my life where they're anxious, they don't know what to do, they're too existential to the point of paralysis.
Like they're too focused on
it's tough,
the state of being.
Nothing. What's the point if nothing matters?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Let it go.
You're cutting the wrong strings. And you're cutting all of them.
You're like growing more attached
to non-attachment.
Right.
So to me, it's like what I see, and we do this through art. I think art is really the only way, because I've mentioned this before. When I stopped creating and started thinking about what I was doing, you're like, a tree just grows. And I was like, okay, but how do we get back there?
The cosmic habit force.
So it's like, if you steep yourself in expression, in deep Megan expression, but know that it's an expression, and know that you're part of some formless who knows what. It's like, we're here to express this meat suit. So do it to the best of your abilities, but don't be fucking attached to it.
Right.
So it's like really putting a lot of gas into, I guess, creative expression. And everybody has that, because it's talking, it's writing, it's thinking, it's communicating, it's conversing. It's not just paint. Which was what I used to think.
I think it could be like physical expressions too, like letting your body get into the zone, whether you're like doing ice hockey or whatever. I don't know.
Becoming the next famous ice hockeyman.
Perhaps.
Are those new shoes?
Are those Diet Coke shoes?
Yeah, what's the brown one? Caffeine free?
That's hard to find. Yeah, I want to do that and be that.
Take what you love about music and art and authorship and your interests, right? Mm-hmm. And just eat it. And
I usually do.
You do, yeah. And
no, I know.
It's very rare that I see you get stuck anywhere. You know, it's like
no. I definitely have been avoiding editing the last episode of Rubbish, but it's obviously a pattern that keeps recurring. When I've got stuff to edit, and I'm like, I'm too sad, or I'm too focused on this other sad thing, and I can't. I think I'll just go ride my bike and figure out later how I can get back to this. But it's like this ongoing process of being okay with how I'm feeling at the moment, and not like trying to agonizingly push myself in any direction. For me, it's like I feel better when I'm paying attention to how I'm currently feeling and not like dwelling in it or trying to make it worse or go deeper. Just like, man, I feel frustrated and my tummy hurts, and like lay on my bed for 20 minutes and I'm like, I think I can get up and edit now.
Yeah, and it's such a I recently me.
How can we talk unless we're talking of us?
Sure. But just because I can relate. Part of it's my job to edit, so there's just discipline there of getting paid and getting it done. But also I've been like working through this really weird creative tangle, right? Where I'm like, man, I swing and I go work for one person and he's type A and super organized, but such a dickhead and stealing my opinion. And I'm getting awareness of how valuable my expression is, and I don't like somebody else taking advantage of that. So you cut that off. But I'm like, wow, that person's really organized. There's something to that. Mm-hmm. I'm not like that at all. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea of being like that. But I got to start at ground zero because I was diagnosed with everything under the fucking sun, whatever. Then you go to another person who's, and this is my life, and I don't know if it's because I'm a Gemini and I like, my reality swings really hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think in a lot of ways it's reflective of how reality functions.
Sure. Yeah, it swings from like, whoo,
like
and then
you get a bunch of this, and then in reaction to that, you get a bunch of the opposite kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I swing to somebody else who's like all expression and no organization. And then you see somebody drowned.
There's also the order chaos duality of it too.
Yes. And then I swing into somebody currently that's actively functioning on all cylinders. And you're like, this is fascinating.
What is the trade-off that they're working with, do you think? Like what do they struggle?
Do you remember when I told you I got access to a file briefly?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want to talk about it because it's secret or whatever. I got access to a file and I was like, oh God. You know, like, oh my God, this person is so functioning. Maybe, I don't know more than that. That's just my really narrow perspective. But I was like, okay, there's something here. I can do both. And we're always trying to strive for balance. But coming back to your point where you're not motivated, you know, because we were creating Rubbish for a year straight without, like, you were just popping those edits out, like you were just cutting your chops. But then this is art. Then you get to a place where you're like, okay.
But I've also been struggling with the reception of it and how I don't really get the same sort of sense of accomplishment because of the world that it goes into.
Well, that's what I've been struggling with too, but here's the thing, it's like, that's performance. So let's say
I struggle with the concept, like I want to perform, I like performing, but I don't
Like, let's say you are doing stand-up comedy and you're not on YouTube. You go to a club and there's no one there. You're like, okay, this is great. But you keep going to that club and there's no one there. So after 50 times of going there, you're like, why am I doing this? I want somebody to hear it.
True.
So then you have to put energy into, or a painter has to go to a different gallery because nobody showed up at the other opening.
Yeah.
It's a common, or you wrote a book, you dumped $5,000 into there's like some guy who went viral on TikTok because he wrote this like little alien romance novel and nobody bought it. But then some TikToker was like, just speak into this and it'll happen. And then like fucking skyrocketed his book sales and stuff too, because he put all this effort and all this work and this energy that you're putting into your art. And sure, you could be in the Himalayas sculpting and then pushing it off of a cliff.
Or make like a huge, like elaborate mandala out of sand, and then the wind blows it and you're like, yes!
See, but then even the Dalai Lama initiates the creation of the mandala. 6,000 people are going to walk by the mandala to look at it. Like, there's still...
What is gained by the sharing or the consumption of it, I guess?
Motivation. Because the whole reason we're expressing is to ring everyone's gong. And if we're not ringing everyone's gong... I like that
concept. I call it sizzle the matrix.
Yeah. And so if you're not doing that and you're not getting in front of people, then you're going to let the people like my first person, the people who are organized, addicted, gambling, I got this, get the fuck out of my way, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be number one. Mm-hmm. They win. And so it's like, okay.
What if I'm not interested in engaging in that struggle where we win or lose?
Winning is wrong.
Right.
Winning is not the right term. You want to ring as many gongs as you possibly can. And if you're not interested in ringing gongs, then I don't know. I can't make you interested in ringing gongs.
No, I am interested in ringing gongs. For sure.
But just for me, it was like witnessing that struggle is in every medium. The art gallery, you switch to a better show. You get a better marketing person. You put out flyers next time. You tap a network. You have to put energy into the strategy. We can't just keep shitting and not wiping our butts or learning to eat differently. But it's not fun. And you don't get this immediate dopamine hit because that's not fun.
Yeah.
But it's part of creation and ringing gongs. Because I also don't want to be like that person because it's so ultra meaningless and seems like hell on earth. But at the same time, I want to ring some fucking gongs.
Yeah, I think that the search for meaning, or like the quest for meaning, or like making it like a meaningful pursuit, is sort of has dissolved a little bit. Like it's not, I don't know, like it just doesn't seem, it seems further away. Not that it's like out of reach, but I just don't really feel it recently.
It's part of the cycle.
Yeah,
for sure. Like it comes close,
and I think it goes away. There's also like a mature kind of viewpoint where you're like, oh, this sort of low point, I've experienced low points before when I don't feel like making anything and I don't feel inspired, and then I come back like something, I'm like, oh, tartar sauce, I fucking love tartar sauce, and fried potatoes, sandwich, something, like something that starts to sort of move,
and trusting the swing, like, yeah. I can feel, I'm like, oh, shit's gonna be boring for a while. Like I've always felt that. This summer I felt it, like the whole world was just dead from heat and you're inside doing nothing. I'm like, this is a period of reflection. Mm-hmm. And it's boring and I don't feel like doing anything. But it's so funny because meaning is something I struggle with too. I'm like, well, what's that? I feel
like you've always done well with meaning. You like established your own sense of like what life is. Like you have a faith-based system,
Lucas wants me to ditch everything and just do metaphysical stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what that looks like or why or how.
Like metaphysical stuff on YouTube?
Yeah, it's just like everything I should be doing or putting my energy in should be that part of myself that I've kept hidden for so long. And I don't know what it looks like.
I definitely think it needs to come out more. But
I don't
would
know.
it be unbalanced to put all the pressure on that?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, to relieve pressure, because I don't want to put pressure on anything, is to always come back to creation. What do I want to create? Mm-hmm. But I do know that I do have to strategize in order to get the gallery. Because the gallery is so amorphous now, or it's like non-existent, or it's just strange, it's just different. You're buried. Yeah, it's almost like you're just buried under a fucking 1,000 pounds of sand, and you're kind of just like digging your way to somewhere that has a little bit more air.
And then there's these like shallow kind of tips that you can use to get a wider audience, or like somehow jam what you're creating down other people's throats. And it's like, do the overhead camera and like the crunchy, like do the crunchy, crispy, like smack the meat. Like you gotta smack the meat, or else you gotta do the same thing over and over and over again.
I feel like the Ouroboros is eating its tail right now, because it's like everybody's doing the formula. So are you and I waiting for the wave to where people start rejecting the formula?
I think there is a small contingent of people who reject the formula. But the formula in relation to like the algorithm is like this expression of the hive mind, you know? It's like everybody wants to see this kind of thing, so that's all they get. And they just get the same shit until it's like this weird monstrous version of it.
I get so many comments like, why isn't this shit bigger? And I know why, because
I take pleasure in those comments. I'm like, because we're a fucking cult and nobody can.
But I want
it.
at least 50,000 more members, and that's a drop in the bucket when it comes to.
I have no desire for fame and renown.
No, me neither. But I
feel like with that growing of readership or followship or whatever, there will be more people. There will be more people paying attention and trying to connect and, you know, putting up flags for themselves. And that I can't handle. I don't want. It's like this discussion we've had before of trying to be a teacher for people. And I've definitely come around to being a teacher because that's what people need. People need to be shown.
You film yourself all the time, though.
I know, but I'm usually stoned.
Oh. So you're usually relaxed.
When I've been trying to cut back on smoking, and I've been posting a lot less. It's a weird connection, but it's a connection that exists.
Do you think smoking opens up your horizon and like makes you less cynical about?
Yes. Smoking like removes the barriers between you and me.
Okay, so I know what we're doing for your birthday. I'm giving you 4 hits of acid.
Why acid?
Because that'll just you won't be functional. You'll just go somewhere else.
By myself?
Yeah, by yourself. But I'll be there. Because it's like, to me, sometimes the only way to shake off that, they're not blocks. They make sense. That's why I don't feel like they're blocking.
I think it's connected to shame.
Why is it connected to shame?
I have this like two-headed, two-faced kind of approach to performance, where there's like part of me that's like, oh, you just want people to like watch you and validate you because you're lonely and you need this. And then part of me is like, no, I just really like it. And then there's like this tension between like the shame of wanting to grab people's attention versus like, it's okay to want to perform and make people laugh. It's not necessarily something that I need to do to feel good about myself.
So Shame Megan needs attention.
Yeah, but what does she want?
That's where IFS therapy comes in, baby. IFS. I was thinking about doing a video about this recently because IFS really changed my life because talk therapy was so whatever. But IFS would go, Shame Megan needs some help. Because the way that you get Shame Megan to feel better is to give her attention. What do you need?
And that kind of goes back to shadow work too.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. And so, because, like, to me, you have the light of being unstoppable. You do. And the lives that we live have corroded us. And all we're doing is trying to shake off the shame, the guilt, all the burdens. That's all, especially as a creative expression. Because that sounds like what's getting in the way or making you not want to, take a step back, take a 2 steps.
I can't wait to get back into, I've had enough.
Yeah. Versus paying attention to Shame Megan, telling her, hey, I got this. I love you. Yeah. And that's what you do. You like tend to those parts and do deep work with those parts and recognize those parts and how old is Shame Megan? What is Shame Megan wearing? What is there memories that she wants? So you don't have to because we're smart people, we've logicized all the things we've been through, all the trauma we've had. We've done that all. So talk therapy is fine. We know why we're XYZ. But IFS therapy is a way to integrate.
Yeah, the integration is a part that I'm still kind of in the dark about. Like, sitting with the pain, the emotional pain that you would usually, divert from or, numb with some particular activity. It's how do you allow it to change you?
Yeah, by integrating and paying attention and seeing which Megan is driving the bus. Cultivating awareness about what Megan is driving the Megan bus. Just go lay down, you motherfucker. I'm a potato.
His body creates so much heat. You can't come back up. I'm too sweaty. I'm sorry. I love you.
Go lay down. Go lay down.
Ciao.
Ciao. I want to lay on your camera tripod. Go lay down. Bye. Yeah, I've never heard you talk about your shame in that way.
I'm trying to pay attention to the voice, not the negative self-talk voice, but the, hey, this is a bad idea, and I think you know why. I'm oh, you're wrong. Wait, Can you not silence me? Because I think I'm your intuition.
Teresa says, if not, can we watch her watch it? As repugnant as you may find a reaction video.
Watch what, darling?
You watch yourself?
Watch me watch myself?
But you watch yourself.
I watch myself a lot. I watch with compassion.
You're going on TV tonight.
Yeah, we're going. I don't know if we're going live or what, but we are making a new episode of God Morning America. It's just so easy for me to turn off all my thinking and just do it. Because this week is super busy, and I've been kind of not dreading it, but anxiously anticipating it for a while, coupled with all of my emotional roller coaster stuff. And now that it's happening, I feel so much better. I knew that I could do it and I would be capable, but actually doing it, I'm not worried anymore. The anxiety dissipates. This is my job. I'm fucking good at it. But the build up is always and then it's all for naught,
Well, that, and you don't have any distractions. It's you work the weekends, so then most of the week you could sit and ruminate about the build-up.
Yes. Instead of editing all the shit I have to edit, I'm just rocking back and forth on my bed. Everything's gonna be okay. You just need something to do.
Teresa said, watch Megan watch High Ren. I'm sure she sent that to you. I don't know who does that.
What's High Ren?
What's his name? The song by Ren Grill. It's the music video of him in the hospital gown. Have you watched that?
Who is Ren Grill?
I don't. Teresa, did you send this to her? I'm
sorry.
Maybe no. I don't think She sent it to me a long time ago, so I don't know if she sent it to you, but I'll send it to you and you can watch it.
Okay.
It's cool. I don't know how many minutes. Not very long. No, she did not send it to you.
There's nothing.
No! No, shut up! I don't want what you got. It's 9 minutes. I'll send it to you.
Sick.
I will send it to you.
The Dark Night of the Soul.
Whew, all right. That's about as much heat in the I don't know why it's so fucking hot in here, man.
Yeah, like what? Is it the plastic chairs?
It's the plastic chairs. Fuck.
Thanks for talking with me today, Whitney. Did you know it was Magic Toaster's birthday recently? I wasn't sure if he wanted me to reveal that. Was it October 1st?
Well,
2 days
happy
ago?
belated birthday.
Happy birthday, mate. You're doing it. You're still alive. You're doing it every day. You're doing it.
Kylan is communicating with me about picking up Ruby, and I'm like, oh, I'm not there, babe. You must communicate to the other half.
Lupus.
Well, I want those Shea Megans for you to get out of the way. I want you. It's in there. I feel you spinning towards Kalima, like somebody who's a little bit. Shane, Megan, bye. Shit that's in your way, bye.
Yeah, it's always like a bit of a process, but I definitely feel.
I just feel like that coming out as a collective too. Like I feel it was crazy. Like Lucas's cousin was in town yesterday, and he like landed a big show in New York for comedy, and he was talking about that. And then the next show, everything shut down. And I was like, that's how the pandemic was for everybody. Like, I had just bought in all the bar stuff for LEA. It, like, some people reached this thing, just got, like, totally torn apart. But I feel it coming back around again, where we've had time and solace and rest. And
we've, what is it called? Reconnoitered, regathered, re-strategized.
Change is on the way. Did you see the moon last night on your drive home?
Yes, I believe I did.
It is so big down here. The moon is not that big in Minnesota.
Why?
I don't know. I've never seen any planet that big.
I feel like it got dark in here when you said that.
Dude, that moon like almost made me crash my car.
Well, it's magnified when it's closer to the horizon. Was it close to the horizon? I look at the moon like it's my job. I'm always looking at the moon.
That moon was as big as like a what? It's in the sky. I can't compare it.
It's golf ball, I guess.
It was bigger than that. Well, maybe, yeah, if you held up a golf ball.
Yeah, it's all about like what you're holding in an arm's length.
But it was like bigger. It was like a plate.
I did not see that.
It was so big and it was so red. And there were clouds.
That was yesterday?
Yeah, that was last night. Huh. Erica texted me. She's like, what the fuck is happening? I'm like, I don't know. The moon is so fucking big, though. It was like the reverse sun. I mean, it was so bright.
Dude, it is so the reverse sun.
I'm Minnesota goodbyeing these motherfuckers right now. Did y'all see the moon last night? Ooh, real quick. I just wanted to share this with anybody on the pod. I haven't been talking to my mom, but there's no ill will towards her. I just don't have the bandwidth or whatever. And so instead of talking to my mom or talking to my therapist, and the therapy is always good, but it doesn't feel like enough expression, I went to Reddit, and there was a subreddit called Raised by Narcissists. And that is such a treasure trove. And also there's rules to posting in there saying like, the number one rule is context of abuse. You can't tell somebody that they weren't experiencing that or that their parent was just trying to do XYZ, because narcissists are so high functioning that my mom would always give off this mask to everybody else but me and Erica. Mm-hmm. And then we would get the rabid dog, but no one else would see
And then
it.
everybody was like, oh, I don't know what you girls are talking about.
She's so funny. And I'm like, yeah, it's all a dance. And so I posted on there, and it felt really good to write it out. Like, just even writing it. I was like, maybe I should do more of that. Just write about it. It blew up. It's got 16,000 views. It's got 1 billion upvotes. It had 80 comments, and people were just like, oh yeah, yep, nope, that's the worst. And it was just so nice that other people were like, yeah.
And I guess that's another reason you bare your soul, so you can make those types of connections. And so you don't feel so alone in your experience.
I gotta send this real quick because she thinks I'm picking up Ruby right now.
Lucas, no!
Yeah, so I never used Reddit as a resource because I've been like ridiculed on there for motorcycle stuff, but then I'm like, there's everything is on Reddit. So if you are dealing with parental stuff and want some support, please go to Reddit.
This is just going to open up a whole nother can of worms. I'm just curious about all the different ways that people discover the truth for themselves. And like, how did they learn their parents were narcissistic?
I think Teresa was the one that told me about my mom. And then I got this book called, and I was young too. I got this book like Stop Walking on Eggshells or whatever, because she also has borderline personality disorder, and those people are just so hard to navigate. But that book really was like, and it sucks too, because like you can know they're a narcissist and you can have empathy for them, but the best measure is usually not talking to them, because things will be fine and normal, and then suddenly it's just like catastrophically bad. And I often get treated like a girlfriend with my mom because of the inappropriate attachment and boundary switching. So like I took on that role of being a boyfriend for so long. I'll call you back. I'll call you, doing that whole thing. But it's taken having kids to be like, get the fuck off my fucking lawn. I am so tired. What are you doing?
I don't have anything to give you.
Just every Ruby's birthday is about her. It's just, and you're like, man, I thought this would be different. I thought like grandkids. I love No! She's stealing attention from me. And you're like, oh God,
no.
What's that dog that gates hell? Cerberus. Yeah. Anyways. Feels good to connect.
I do.
Full Metal says you're hooked on validation. Fuck right off, Full Metal.
You are. I am. I definitely am.
I just like, anytime I've like told anybody, they're like, oh, yeah. And you're like, never mind. They just don't.
It doesn't hit for them?
Well, they don't support. And it's like, what's the point of having a conversation if you're just going to, oh, okay, yeah, cool. It's so nice that people are like, that. I've been through the same thing. There's like solidarity there that is just, feels like a big missing piece of the puzzle.
It makes you feel less crazy, right?
Yeah, and in therapy, Elizabeth calls it like my pillars of truth, like people I know that are not going to manipulate me. Or, get all wacky, but sometimes it's not enough.
Teresa.
All right. It is so hot in here.
I was about to launch into how much, like, why I love going to school so much. It's because I would get positive attention from the teachers.
Because you never got it.
Right. And I'm just like, whoa, I always needed to get Well,
But made you a good student, I guess.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I love school because you would get a piece of paper that says like A plus on it, and I'd be like, "Fuck yeah!"
It's like every hug, every tender hug and kiss you never got from your mom, you got this piece of paper that was like gold star, baby.
And that's why I set this thing up for me, because it feels so good to like color in the little thing when I accomplish something, and then it's like I'm giving myself my own report card, but also expressing like not forgiveness, but just like sort of leniency when it doesn't work out on a certain day. It's like, yeah, you haven't done push-ups in 12 days, but that's okay. Like, you'll do it some other day, and that's fine. So it's like I'm using my notebook to be my own mom, and that's what's working for me right now. Thank you very much, everybody.
This has been a beautiful MAWPOD.
I'm gonna go eat some more bread.
She's gonna go eat more tomato sandwiches. That sounds so fucking good right now.
I ate all the tomatoes. They were so good.
Bye, guys.
Bye.